Hi guys, it's Byzantine again. Second day in a row posting a video. How come? How weird, right? No. How are you guys? Today I decided that I'm gonna make the video about Les Exlusifs de Chanel, which is an exclusive boutique line of Chanel. But before that, thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And I don't know if you noticed, there's a new intro. Let me know what do you think about it. There was one person who noticed, like in a previous video, and yeah, like it's new. It's time for changes. It's been a year, guys. So let me know if you like this one or you prefer the previous one. Let's move on to the topic. Alright, so I made my notes, and I'm gonna try to go through all the fragrances quite quickly, because there are a lot of them. And I decided to put together like the L'Exclusifs de Chanel list and the inspirations behind them in one video, because I haven't seen, sorry, I have a headphone in here so you can hear me a little bit better. I haven't seen this video anywhere, anybody putting all the L'Exclusifs together, because I don't own any L'Exclusif yet. I smelled a few. Some of them I just don't remember very well because I don't like smelling the fragrances in the boutique, because there are so many scents out there and I cannot focus my nose, my sense. And I had like the gardenia sample and I really enjoyed it. I made a video review on it already. But I decided to put together the inspiration behind all of the fragrances, so you would know what more or less they are all about, if you want to choose something. And before doing that, guys, let me know in the comments below what would you recommend for me to get first. Like, I'm gonna have my birthday in August, which is, well, the same month that Gabrielle Chanel has her birthday in. We're both Leos, and the Leo is the new exclusive that is coming in Europe in January. And I'm pretty excited about it. I'm kind of expecting it to be more dramatic, and full of expression, full-bodied fragrance, because this is how I read the Leos. We are kind of dramatic, and many of us work in entertainment, maybe because we're so emotional and expressive and all over the place, a little bit hectic as well. And I guess this is what I am expecting. This is the mood I am expecting from Leo, or Lion de Chanel, or something like this. I don't know how it's gonna be called. Okay, that's a long intro. And what else I want to tell you? I don't know how all of the fragrances I have in here smell like. There are 17 that I counted. I kind of expect all of them to have the Chanel Light base, which is kind of jasmine rose aldehydes in a smaller or bigger quantity in each of the fragrances. Oh, plus aldehydes, of course. In each of the fragrances, because I find Chanel to be very consequent, true to their DNA brand. Okay, we're gonna start with the fragrances that are on the market since even when Chanel was alive, and since 20s, and they were designed by Ernest Beau, who was a French guy living in Russia, but he had to migrate back to Paris during the Russian Revolution, and the roads between Chanel and Beau, connected. I think that the Tsar Dmitri introduced Ernest Beau to Chanel, I think. I don't wanna give you wrong information, but this is what I think happened. And actually, the history of Chanel as a brand is in the names and inspiration of the each fragrance. So Ernest Bock created, I think, four fragrances I have here on the list, and they're still in the production. Of course, they changed. They don't smell the same as they smelled in the 20s and 30s when they were created. And these three original L'Exclusifs are Cuir de Russie, Russian leather, the name says, which is inspired by the Russian military boots that were leather. Like leather and fur is very big in the Eastern countries. Guys, don't get offended. This is, this is how it is. Like, I think that everybody has a fur in their house, even if, like, my mother, for instance, she doesn't wear fur, but she has like some things with fur. She got them from her mother. We have them. Okay, in Eastern countries we have them. This is how it is. I don't like buying fur. I'm opposed. Actually, I'm against buying fur, but I'm not gonna judge anybody because everybody makes their own choices. So it's inspired by the leather apparel of Russian military. Because the leather has a very specific scent, so it's supposed to smell like balsams, jasmine, birch tree, tobacco, hay, smoky woods. Fair, quite strong. Another original one would be Bois des Îles, which translates into forest islands. And from what I gathered, the prominent note in this fragrance is sandalwood, and it's inspired by the exotics that were coming to Europe in the 20s. There were many excavations in the 20s in Egypt. So all the exotic objects and the histories were coming to Europe, and Europeans were very inspired by that. Actually, the 20s, the roaring 20s, they were kind of weird time, but people were trying to live their life to the fullest because it was the time between one war and another, and a lot of contrasting situations between very poor to very rich. People were trying to really live their life. So I think this is the main inspiration. The third one would be Gardenia, which is a interpretation of the camellia scent. The camellia was Gabrielle Chanel's favorite flower, which had the perfect shape but has no scent at all. So Gardenia is the imaginary scent of camellia, but some people say it's very true to the natural gardenia scent. I've never smelled gardenia, to be honest with you, so I cannot tell you that. And the last but not least, the original one that I gathered was Sycamore, which has this very earthy vetiver inspiration. It's supposed to be quite raw and kind of harsh because what I read, the inspiration was Gabrielle's childhood. When she became an orphan, it was quite tough for her, and this is the mood of the scent. Okay, guys, we're going with the list of more modern fragrances that are inspired by Chanel's history and the history in general, the Chanel's DNA as a brand, as a person. So these are the fragrances. I don't know when exactly each of them was released. The latest one is 1957. And the 1957 supposed to be an homage to Gabrielle Chanel's success in fashion in the USA. And the thing is that, you know, after the World War II, when during the World War II, Gabrielle Chanel closed her boutique, you know, she wasn't very successful with her fashion. She was even laughed at in Paris, because, you know, she was releasing the collection and people, you know, were like, oh, it's nothing new, you're doing the old same thing as always, like you're like old school designer. But you know, the Americans really liked her fashion, so she was granted a prize of the by Neiman Marcus Fashion Award. It was the Neiman Marcus Fashion Award, and she was very successful in America. This is how her career started there, and she started dressing the celebrities and so on and so forth. And it's supposed to smell woody, floral, musky. I kind of assume it's very typical classic American scent, which is not a novelty. It's very classic, using classic florals. It's kind of soapy clean, not offensive, and elegant scent. So this is the latest release of Les Exclusifs. Then we have the jersey, which was the fabric that she used, which was typically back then used for sweaters for sailors. It was fabric especially dedicated towards men, and you know, because of the lack of fabrics during the hard times after war, you know, she decided to utilize the men dedicated fabric herself. Then we have 1932, which is the name of the scent, which is supposed to be the date of her. What did I write in here? When she released her fine jewelry line. She was known for her custom jewelry that looked very expensive, but she released her fine jewelry line with diamonds, pearls, and so on. And it's supposed to be bright, powdery. Yeah, that's it. Then we have Misha, and actually people say Misha. Well, I would say Misha because Misha was her nickname, was like the huge muse of the artist back in the Chanel days. She was her true good friend. And why I'm saying Misha, because you know, I read that her last name was Godebska, and actually it's very Polish name, and people say she was Russian, and I kind of think she was Polish. Maybe she was Polish Russian. You know, I don't know. I don't know about that. And actually, like my cousin's nickname is Misha as well. Her name is Dominika, and if you wanna be more endearing, you would say Dominisha, and we call her Misha. And my father would call my mother Misha sometimes, you know. So it's like very endearing nickname to somebody you care. So the her Chanel's best friend was the inspiration for that scent. So the scent is very powdery, floral, powdery. It's supposed to smell like the actress's makeup. Reminds you that back in the days, the makeup was dedicated towards actresses and prostitutes, and later in the 20s, it was more introduced towards every woman. Of course, women found their ways to sneak into finding the makeup, but you know, this is how it was back in the day. I'm not judging, I'm just telling you how the history was. And next fragrance we have is called Boy. The inspiration of this fragrance was Gabrielle Chanel, love of her life, Arthur Boy Capel, who was a polo player, British polo player, and he was her true love. He helped her start the business, you know, kick her in the butt to do something about her skills. And this scent's supposed to be like green lavender, probably kind of powdery, mm, and very androgynous. I don't know. I haven't smelled that, so I don't wanna tell you anything about it. The next fragrance would be Coromandel. Coromandel is inspired by the Coromandel screens that she had in her apartment. They came from China and they were a huge inspiration to her. She loved the oriental objects, as I told you, exotic oriental objects that were coming to Europe during the 20s and later on as well. So that was her huge inspiration. Supposedly it smells like a patchouli and white chocolate. And actually Chanel uses quite often this term honeyed. So I kind of assume that many of the fragrances, including this one, has a little bit of sweetness, but you know, Chanel doesn't make very sweet fragrances. I don't know if you noticed that. Another fragrance is beige. Beige. Chanel has like this color DNA in her fashion, which is beige, black, white, black, and red. And lame, which is like gold actually, like beige gold, or also gold. Let's add gold to that because she used the gold embellishments and so on. So the beige is supposed to be like the raw and sophisticated color, like very natural and effortless. So this fragrance is supposed to smell the same, and it's honeyed freesia and frangipani. Next, we have two fragrances inspired by Chanel's villas. First one would be La Pausa, which is Chanel's villa in south of France, and it's supposed to be powdery lavender and very radiant one, inspired by the Mediterranean part of France. And the second fragrance inspired by her retreat on the outskirts of Paris is Bel Respiro, beautiful breath. So I guess it was like the breath of leisure, of, you know, running away from everyday routine. But this one's supposed to smell more like fresh, romantic green. Okay, guys, we have two left, and sorry this video is very long, but actually three left. Oh, four left. But I'm really trying to go through them quite quickly, so please bear with me. Okay, next one on the list is number 18, which is an homage to her fine jewelry boutique, which is placed at Place Vendôme 18. This is the address of her fine jewelry boutique. It's described by Chanel brand on the website unique and intense. The notes are ombre seeds, white masks, and geranium. Geranium. The another one is also inspired by her boutique, but her fashion boutique and atelier with the famous mirror staircase, and her apartment on top of the mirror staircase. And this one is 31 Rue Cambon. Rue Cambon. I don't know how do you say 31 in French. Sorry, I should probably know. So this one is a Chypre fragrance. Iris, black pepper, and vetiver are the notes of that. Okay, guys, and we have two left. There's number 22, which I would say, reading the information, is like the first flanker of number 5. Some people say it's like upgraded version of number 5, which went through the evolution among Chanel's time as well, because it contained so many notes at the very beginning, and they were trying to reduce the cost of production at some point, so they reduced the notes, and then they changed the fragrance. I don't know if they saw that there wasn't something like perfect, or I don't know, because they were both sold at the same time. And oh, I didn't mention this one, sorry, when I was telling you about the original. compositions. So this one is number 22, and as I told you, it's the reinterpretation of number 5. It's supposed to be more soft, more mellow, and upgraded version of number 5. And the last one is Cologne. And Cologne, well, this one is the most basic. I wouldn't underestimate it because, you know, as a brand, you want to have many different options for your customers, and some customers are looking for a typical cologne. This cologne is like the most typical, not as the cologne as I was telling you in a previous video, which is Chanel's interpretation of cologne. This one is the most typical generic cologne, but of course it smells top shelf, as I would tell you. So it's I smelled this one. It's very citrusy, it's very effervescent, refreshing, and not invasive at all if you just want to refresh yourself, because the colognes were used this way to refresh yourself during the heat, so you have something zingy to, you know, to get the clouds of your mind, if that makes sense. Guys, this video is over 20 minutes, but as you could hear, I was rushing through it because, you know, there are so many of them. At the very end, I just want to mention you that Les Exlusifs de Chanel are available in 2 sizes, 75ml, which retails for £155, and 200ml, which retails for £280. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for staying up until now if you did. See you next time. Kisses.